So if you've been a longtime fan of this channel, then you'll know that I love to analyze music. Whether that be through album reviews or ranking different covers of songs, I just love the idea that a piece of music has little bits and pieces sewn throughout that I can look at and apply within the messaging that they're trying to show through the song. I love that. And one of the reasons I love that is because I definitely consider myself to be very much an amateur songwriter. If you've watched my video on how to write a song, which I will link in the description, you will know that I've developed a 5-step process that works for me to help me write songs when I'm in a funk. But there are also other techniques that you can use once you get past the beginner levels of writing songs that can really help you elevate your songwriting. So in today's video, I want to specifically show you how to write a song based off any piece of media, whether that be fiction or nonfiction, book, TV show, movie, any kind of other material that you can write a song off of. And I've been thinking about this a lot because since the start of 2022, I've been watching so much more television than I normally do. And specifically, watching those shows got me thinking about theme songs. If you didn't see, I also have an episode where I ranked the top 10 game show theme songs. I'm really proud of that episode. Go check it out if you're interested. But that video specifically got me interested into how those theme songs were written, if they were written for the show, before the show's conception and were refurbished into those songs, how that affects the viewer's perspective of the show and how that elevates the show's concepts. And so I really wanted to have a video where I go into how I write songs based off of other material. So throughout this video, not only am I going to be explaining tips and tricks as well as steps to writing these songs based off of these other pieces of work, but I'm also going to be writing a song too to show you how those tips can be put into action. If you end up writing a song along with this video, comment down below. Tag me in any of your videos. I would love to see what you guys create. So without further ado, the first step is to find your piece of work that you are going to be writing on. Maybe you were commissioned to write a piece of music based off a book. Maybe you're writing a jingle for a TV show or a commercial. Either way, this type of song starts out with a piece of work. So for me, let's go find one. So as you guys saw, the book that I decided to go with was called 2 Summers. It's by Amy Friedman. This is a book that I've had since like middle school, and I remember really enjoying the premise and I liked the book. Basically, if you've never heard of it or read it, it's about a girl named Summer who makes a split-second decision to either board a plane or not board a plane, and the book follows her 2 different realities, one where she does take the flight and one where she stays in New York where she lives. And it basically just follows her adventures throughout her summer. So I thought that this was a really interesting concept to make a song about. I was immediately inspired by the premise, thinking about it, what I could do with it. So the first step, complete, check 1. So the second step, once you have the material, is to really do a deep dive. If I were doing this for either being commissioned or for a paid job, I would absolutely reread this book, go top to bottom, analyze the characters that are in this book and what kind of music it would take for this. That's really important, knowing all the details. So some questions you could be asking yourself are, who's the main character? What kind of arc or journey do they go through? Map that out. See where they start out and what lessons they learn, how they grow, because that can affect your music. The other important thing is knowing the structure for this song. If you're just having fun and you're writing a song based off of it, the structure really doesn't matter that much. But if you're being commissioned to do a work, you need to know, is it a TV show you're writing songs for? Is it a movie? Like, do you need to have a whole 1.5 to 2 hours worth of music in this thing? Those are big things, you know what I mean? So understand who you're writing these songs for, what kind of job you're writing these, if you're writing it for a job, or if you're having fun, how long you want the song to be realistically. And yeah, so like I said, do a deep dive of the work, you know, analyze everything about it, because you never know what specifically from that work is going to give you inspiration. I think immediately when I thought of this premise for the book, an idea sort of just hit me, but for a lot of people it takes a little bit of time. So I would say take your time, you know, it's not a race. Learn everything you possibly can about it, and then as you're going, think about the different musical elements that you can incorporate. Like I said in my other video, when you're writing a song, there are a lot of different things you can play with. Tempo, styles, instrumentation, really do a deep dive. So for me writing this song, one of the biggest pieces of inspiration is the form of this book. You know, there are a lot of different ways to show the theme that Summer is going through of identity crisis. She doesn't know who she is. She's hoping that this trip to Paris with her father is going to bring some sort of answers and conclusion about her family. She's hoping to find who she is and discover what she wants to do and how she wants to identify. And I think the biggest inspiration in terms of this book is the way that the narrative and the book is structured. They show her two separate timelines to show her identity crisis. So I think for this song, one of the biggest things that I want to do is play around with structure. Since it's such a unique structure for the book, I want to make the song super unique. So my idea is to have, instead of a traditional pop song where there's like a verse, chorus, verse, bridge, you know what I mean, with a main theme and then some stuff around it, I want there to be two separate themes to show the two sides of Summer in this two separate realities, and I want them to come together at the end. So I have to somehow make themes, maybe they are in the same key, but they're very different in terms of rhythm or register, even melody-wise, and then at the end, I want them to come together as she comes together in the book and realizes who she is. So that's my inspiration. I realize and understand that not every piece of work that you are basing this off of is going to have specifically a crazy structure that outdoes it, but I'm just saying to highlight the elements that are already there. You know, like one of the examples I'll use is like SpongeBob. His premise is about a, sponge and his friends that live under the sea. So thinking about the theme song, it makes perfect sense that it is a very like sea shanty or nautical themed song. So it's about highlighting those specific aspects of whatever work you're doing and bringing that in. And like I said, it can be through a lot of different ways, but specifically for me, this is how I'm doing it because the structure of the book is so unique. I'm highlighting that aspect in my song. Now that I've sort of figured out my structure, I think the next thing I'm going to do is come up with my chord progression. And because this is such a weird song for me, this is nothing like the songs that I normally would write. I think that I'm going to take it melody by melody. So I'm thinking in terms of my two themes, I'm going to call them the Paris theme and the New York theme. I'm thinking for the Paris theme, I want it to be a little bit more light and maybe take inspiration from actual French music. So, very like arpeggios, very soft, higher register. I'm thinking a lot of like the Impressionist music. So I want to try and keep that. I'm thinking one of the things I'm going to do is have a higher register be for Paris theme, a lot of softer stuff, and then to contrast that, I'm going to have the New York theme be a little bit more lower register, a lot more going on, very intense, because I feel like New York is very much known for being a very hustle and bustle city. It's this Broadway, jazz, like there's so many different things going on and it's so spectacular that I think I want to highlight that more. So I think I'm going to have a lot more inner voicings, a lot of like faster rhythms to sort of do that. So let's think about chords for these. I'm thinking I don't want it to be too dissonant in terms of my Paris theme, so I'm starting with the first one. I'm just gonna try G. That sounds good. I'm doing an arpeggio now to sort of get what the feel would be later in the song. I did see just now, maybe I'm gonna try, I want this like sweet thing. So let me think of more chords in the G. Ooh, okay, A minor to G. Okay, I think I have a chord progression. So I'm going to go from A minor, G major, B minor, C major, G major. I think that is such a pretty chord progression, and I think there's a lot I can do with the melody there. Something that's been popping in my head as I'm coming up with the chords is I have a little melody going on in my head, but if you're having trouble, that's totally fine. I would suggest trying to find notes that you think will best suit the next chord that you're going to in your progression. So for me, the basic melody that I have is starting on A minor, and so you can see how that note G sort of aligns with the G major chord that I'm going to next. So I'm sort of fitting other notes in between, but my main Melody is just those, you know, first notes or whatever. So now going into my next chord would be B minor. So I'm on G. So maybe I would need to go up a little bit in the melody. So and you see how this note now, it's not necessarily the bottom note, but it is E, which aligns because that chord right there is C major. So E is the third note in that scale. So it works. I think my melody for it is going to be so that's my melody, that's my Paris melody. So that's the first one. So now I'm going to come up with one for New York, but I'm gonna save that for the end when the whole song is revealed, just so there's a little bit of surprise there. So now I have my structure, my chord progression, my melody all picked out. I don't think I wanna have lyrics for this song, as I think that the piece is gonna stand on its own. But if you did wanna write lyrics and we're having trouble, I highly recommend watching my video on how to write a song for tips and tricks on how to incorporate lyrics once you have your instrumentation. But without further ado, let's present the song that I've written. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a blast trying to come up with ideas for this. This is a really fun exercise. If you liked the video too, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below if you've ever tried to write music and what your strategies are. I think it would be really helpful for the community. A couple other ways you could support me if you so chose. You could subscribe to the channel, you could hit the notification bells to know when I post a new video, or you could follow me on Instagram at songcycle_official.